What's going on, everyone? Landon here with Late Model Restoration. Today I'm going to be taking a look and installing Ford Performance's short throw shifter designed for the 2015 to 2017 GT350 Mustangs. The GT350 Mustang is already a well-engineered masterpiece. However, that doesn't mean there isn't room for improvement. One easy and effective upgrade for the GT350 Mustangs is its Ford Performance short throw shifter. This short throw shifter from Ford Performance will reduce shifter throw by 16% and allow for quicker, more precise gear changes under spirited driving. This short throw shifter will also increase driver feel and feedback. Because of the engineered tolerances of this short throw shifter, NVH or noise, vibration, and harshness will increase over the production shifter. This kit from Ford Performance will include the reduced throw shifter lever, reverse lockout collar, shift knob jam nut, thread locking compound, grease, and a roll pin for installation. You can reuse your factory shift knob or upgrade to an aftermarket knob intended to work with the OEM thread pitch, which is M10 by 1.25. To begin the install, hop inside the car and rotate the shift knob counterclockwise to remove it from the shift lever. Use a small plastic pry tool to separate the shifter boot from the center console. Remove the rubber coin tray insert and start at the front of the boot and work your way towards the rear. Pry up gently since this is a delicate piece. Pull the boot over the shaft and locate the 3 small tabs on the retainer. Release these with a small flathead and then remove the boot from the car. Use a small punch and hammer to carefully drive out the roll pin from the shifter shaft. Keep a little downward pressure on the spring as you drive out the roll pin. Once the pin is out, remove the anti-rattle washer, spring, and the reverse lockout collar. Then remove the rubber reverse lockout spacer and the 2 O-rings on the shifter shaft. Before you make your way underneath the car, be sure to remove the foam insulator from the middle console area. Support the car via jack stands with the transmission in neutral. From the underside of the vehicle, remove the retaining clip with a small pry bar or a long flathead screwdriver. Once that is out of the way, remove the steel pin. Separate the shifter actuation arm from the shift lever and then position it to the side. Remove the 2 10mm shifter plate retaining bolts with a wobble socket and long extension. Remove the retainer plate. Slide the handle assembly downward and out of the shifter housing. Upon removal, verify that the upper shifter bushing rubber isolator comes out with the shifter handle assembly. If it stayed attached to the handle, simply slide it off and go ahead and set it aside. Use a suitable punch or the steel pin removed earlier to gently tap the pivot bushing out of the shifter handle assembly. Pull the lower shifter boot over the lower portion of the shifter. Remove the shift handle pivot bushing by pushing downward until it is released from the pivot ball. Once removed, slide off the 2 O-rings. Align the shifter bushing with the shifter handle. Use a rubber mallet to gently tap the bushing into the shaft until it's fully seated. Install the shift handle pivot bushing onto the new shifter shaft. Slide it upwards until it is positioned over the pivot ball. Reinstall the 2 O-rings. Apply a liberal amount of the supplied grease to the shifter shaft pivot ball and into all the voids on the shifter pivot bushing. Articulate the bushing in all directions to ensure grease has completely covered the shifter shaft pivot ball. Reinstall the lower shifter boot in the same orientation as before. Apply grease to the upper shifter bushing rubber isolator and reinstall it onto the top of the shifter shaft pivot assembly. Slide the new shift handle assembly into the shifter housing. Verify that the upper rubber isolator stays in position as the assembly is installed. Apply the supplied blue thread locking compound to the 2 shifter retaining plate bolts. Position the retainer plate into place and loosely thread the 2 bolts. You're going to want to torque these to 75 inch-pounds. Realign the shifter actuation arm with the shifter handle assembly. Reinstall the steel pin in the same orientation as before. Align the previously removed retainer and secure it into place. Inside of the car, apply a liberal amount of grease to the shifter handle cylinder. Install the rubber reverse lockout spacer. Remove 2 of the round anti-rattle pads from the OEM reverse lockout collar. Install both pads into the new reverse lockout collar in the same orientation. Apply a liberal amount of grease to the inside of the new reverse lockout collar. Install the lower O-ring onto the shaft. Slide the new reverse lockout collar onto the shaft. Install the spring over the shaft and then install the upper O-ring. Position the anti-rattle washer into place and then drive in the provided roll pin through the washer until it is centered within the shifter handle. Trim approximately 3/4 inches from the top edge of the OEM foam insulator to allow adequate clearance for the new reverse lockout collar. Remove additional foam if needed. Install the shift boot over the shaft and slide it into the reverse lockout. Make sure the reverse lockout tab is oriented in the right direction as well as the shifter boot. Evenly tighten the 3 set screws. Be careful and do not over tighten these. Clip the shift boot trim back into the middle console. Thread the provided jam nut onto the shaft. Then install the shift knob. Make sure the shift pattern is even and that reverse engages before removing the knob. Once verified, remove the knob and then count the number of turns it takes to remove the jam nut. Apply blue thread locking compound to the jam nut and then rethread, counting the number of turns. Be sure and allow the locking compound to fully set up before installing the shift knob. Once it's cured and set up, go ahead and reinstall the knob and then check for operation. Take the car for a spin and enjoy your new Ford Performance short throw shifter. As far as installation goes, fellas, this one does seem a little long-winded, but trust me, it's extremely straightforward and can be done in just a few hours. After driving the car, I did notice a little bit of NVH or noise, vibration, and harshness toward the higher end of the power band. But the precise shifts make up for the little noise this shifter added. To see more videos covering the GT350 Mustang, I invite you to subscribe to our YouTube channel if you haven't already done so. Of course, be sure and pick up this Ford Performance short throw shifter kit for your 15 to 17 GT350 Mustang from the Real Mustang Enthusiasts, LMR.com.